Hey, it's Big Fish here from Test Tube Marketing, and in this case study video, I'm going to break down how I helped Steve Keane from Craft Coaching sell out his group coaching program, Get Crafted, for the first time ever, and generate just over £34,000 in revenue inside just 5 days without spending any money on paid traffic, no Facebook ads, no Google ads, no LinkedIn ads, without sending a single DM, cold or otherwise, or having to get on the phone with anyone and do any sales calls. So this is Steve here. You might recognise him. He's got quite a big following online, which he's amassed over the last few years. Back when we were working together, this was October 2023, this launch in particular, we carried on working together after that. But back then he had slightly fewer followers. I think he was about 500 and something thousand. Here we are on a little night out in Birmingham. It's one of the few times Steve has risked his life coming to Birmingham. That's when I went down to see him where he lives, right down south, when his dog was still a little puppy. And here we are again. That was me bending down. As you can see, I'm not as small as Steve is. But here's what I'm going to give you on this video case study. So a full breakdown of the 3 key phases of a launch like this, so that if you're thinking about doing one yourself, you know the 3 phases that you need. And this basically works for any niche or product or service or whatever you want to sell, pretty much. I'm going to show you the assets, the pages, the things we created to be able to do this launch, tell you how many emails we sent, when we sent them, who we sent them to, so that you know how all of that side of things works. I'm going to give you proof, with actual proof, that trying to sell from socials is costing you a fucking fortune and you're leaving a lot of money on the table if you're just trying to sell through your socials like Instagram and Facebook. And the mistake that Stephen made on his previous launch before he and I worked together, and how we kind of easily fixed that and were able to pretty much triple his sales as a result. So a little context first. Steve and I didn't know each other before we embarked on this launch. I'd seen him been following him online for a while, liked his video content that he did on Instagram. I joined his email list, and when he'd done a previous launch, I looked at it and just thought, fucking hell, there's so much more he could be doing there. I considered signing up and didn't. And I reached out to him and I actually sent him some coffee as a little gift to kind of nurture that relationship. And we started working together on this launch a little while later. And this was back in October 2023 that we did this launch. Like I said, it's the first time Steve sold out on his group coaching launch. He's in a different place now off the back of that and some of the other work we did together, like launching his app, got 1,000 sign-ups to that, paying $29.99 per month. So he's come a long way since then. He's got slightly more followers on Instagram and certainly a better following in terms of people aligned with what he talks about. He's built a little team of coaches so that he's got greater capacity for the launches he does. He's got a bigger email list and a clearer overall marketing strategy. So the launches he does now are different. But this was how we did it then, and which will be suitable, I think, for most online personal trainers, fitness coaches, anyone who kind of fits that category. So I want to start by talking about the results, because that's what really matters. We set some targets. So we have a process for setting targets for any launch we do for ourselves or for clients, and we call it win, wow, whoa. So there are 3 levels. The win being, hey, if we hit that number, that's a win. We'd count that as a victory. The win, wow, I always have to say it out loud. Win, the wow is the fucking hell, yeah, that'd be a great result. I'd love to hit that number. And the whoa is, yeah, it's a bit of a dream target. If we do hit it, happy days, but it's a little bit unrealistic, but it's nice to have something to strive for. So with Steve's launch, we hit the win target, so we exceeded 75 sales before we actually officially opened doors to the public, so that was nice. We hit the second target, the wow target, within the first day of the offer going live to the public. And we hit capacity at 3:15 p.m. on the Wednesday, so 150 places sold, which was the whoa target. Bear in mind, this was meant to be a week launch, and we opened doors on the Monday. We hit that target on the Wednesday, and Steve was able to actually add some additional capacity. He was able to get some help from a friend of his and be able to offer an extra 20 places, and we sold those out on the Thursday. So 3 days earlier than the launch was meant to finish. So we did These are the numbers from his payment processor. So 171 orders at 199 quid each, £34,040. And you'll see that most of them came in. So this is when doors opened officially. Most of these sales came in before we opened doors officially. And this is the kind of pattern you'd normally see from a launch. What you normally see is a flurry of sales up front and a flurry of sales before the deadline, because we had to shut doors early. You didn't see that typical spike you'd see here. I think if we didn't have a capacity issue, we would have hit probably 230, 240 sales from this. So I'm just going to give you the strategy. And before I go any further, if this sounds really interesting and you're maybe getting a bit bamboozled and you'd like to just jump on a call and we can explore what doing this for you might look like, whether it's group coaching or something else, hit the link below, we'll book a call and we can talk about it more. The first thing we did was to create a priority list, a wait list. So that was just a list of people, an email list of people who put their hand up and said they were interested in this group coaching program. We had some incentives for people to join the priority list, which were pretty simple. One was early access, so they get access 24 hours before anyone else if they're on that wait list. And the second was they'd go into prize draw to go for dinner with Steve, and there were some other bonuses made available as well. And then it's pretty fucking simple how you do this. We would drive people to join the waitlist or the priority list. So we call that phase the pre-launch. So basically any audience that Steve had, we'd be driving those people to put their name on the priority list. Then we had a pre-launch phase, which is where people aren't able to buy, but we're able to overcome objections, set expectations, build anticipation and desire through emails in that time in the build up to the launch. A lot of people fuck this up by, they go, I'm going to launch something, and then they launch it and there's no anticipation, there's no build up, and they don't get to do the pre-selling before they make something available to people. Finally, we open doors for 1 week. Now, if I was to do this again today, I might make that window a little bit shorter. We've been getting results recently with more kind of 2 to 4 day launch windows. But by putting a fixed period of time on it, we're able to create urgency, because people have to take action by a certain day to get the access to the program. So this is a kind of breakdown of what that looks like in terms of a campaign. So the pre-launch phase, all we're looking to do here is to get people to join the priority list. Now, because Steve had a pretty decent size following on Instagram already, he had a few people on his email list as well, we were able to go pretty light on the incentive to join the priority list. So like I said, it was getting early access, going into a prize draw for dinner with Steve. If we were looking at someone who didn't have a big audience, who was maybe less known, we'd put more bonuses in place for people to join the priority list. So the goal here was to drive traffic, so his social media following, his existing email subscribers, and we had a sub list which was people who'd put their name in to be on his one-to-one coaching wait list, because he was at capacity with that, driving all these people to a simple opt-in page for them to put their name down to join the priority list. So we captured name, we captured email address. That was it. It wasn't heavily designed. It wasn't fancy. It was literally just a black and white page, I think, with a picture of Steve on it. And we just drove this traffic to the opt-in page. Those people got put on the priority list. And then we moved on to phase 2, which was a pre-launch. So this was only a couple of emails to the general email subscribers, 1 email to people on the wait list, and then a few posts on social media over about a week. The next phase was pre-launch. Now, this is emails that were sent to people who would put their name down to be on the priority list. And remember, these emails aren't actually, the thing isn't available to buy at this stage. The purpose of these emails is to build anticipation, desire. And the common way to do this is to look at what objections people would have about working with you, about buying the thing that you're selling, and undoing those objections or overcoming them before they're able to buy, so that by the time cart opens, they are pre-sold, they're kind of clamoring to spend the money with you. So we did this by sending 6 emails from the Monday through to the Sunday. So waitlist closed, and then we start these emails. What we also do, I'll tell you about email 6 in a second. So these emails are sent pretty much daily over that space of time, because these are people who have put their hand up and say they want this thing, so we can afford to go a little bit harder. We call this list protection. It's part of the reason we do this strategy. It's because if the mistake a lot of people make is they're fearful of promoting to their audience, whether that's on social media or their email list, because they're worried they're going to piss them off. And the way we overcome that by doing this waitlist strategy or priority list strategy is we're able to promote more heavily to that audience because they put their hand up and said they're interested in that thing. So the people on the priority list here are getting the 6 emails in the space of this week. The people who haven't put their name up to be on the priority list, they're still getting a couple of emails. You can see that down here. They're still getting 2 emails. They're just not getting the same volume of emails as people who put their hand up, because these people have asked to receive this. So this is all about building anticipation, desire, excitement before we open doors with the launch phase, which again we ran for a week, Monday to Sunday, with 7 emails. So an email scheduled to go out each day. And those emails were driving through to a sales page, which was kind of longish form, where they could sign up for 199 quid. They'd go through, click OK on there. They'd go through to an order form where they complete the purchase and then sign up. The sales page itself, pretty kind of relatively simple structure, but it was kind of story based to start with. So a little bit about why Steve had created this program and what it meant. There was some of the kind of logistics of what you got, how it worked in there as well. So we're covering off the emotional and the logical part of the decision making process. This was kind of how the campaign was planned to work. This isn't actually how it ended up working, because a couple of things we did that are slightly different from what you see here. The first thing we did, because we were giving early access to people who were on the priority list from email 6. Let's make that a bit thicker. From email 6 here, we were driving these people to the sales page. So all the emails before that, these 5 emails in the pre-launch sequence, they weren't driving anywhere. They were just building anticipation. Some of them had asked people to reply, but in email 6 we actually drove people to early access of the sales page. There was no early bird pricing. We had the same price available to everyone throughout the process. And then in theory we would have sent these 7 emails throughout the launch sequence, or the 3 to people who hadn't joined the priority list. However, because we had to close doors early, we didn't send email 5, 6 and 7 because we were already hit capacity. We couldn't take anyone else on. We had to shut things down early. The other email I haven't shown here, which would sit here, is a thank you email. And this is something that most people just don't do, or forget to do, or don't think to do. So we send an email after the campaign is finished, after the launch is finished, thanking people for being part of it, thanking them for opening the emails, reading the emails, replying to the emails, thanking them for kind of putting up with Steve being salesy for that week, because he's not a salesy person. And that's just a nice little value add at the end there to say thanks. People appreciate it. I think he had hundreds of replies to people in that phase just because they appreciated getting that email. So from a goodwill and future launch perspective, super useful. And for context, we got about 1,500 people on the priority list here. So that was how many people joined the priority list. Again, not an extraordinary amount of sales from the number of people on the priority list. However, we were able to, we didn't have tons of bonuses. We didn't have tons of urgency or scarcity beyond the simple, you have to sign up by this date or places will run out. The good thing is, because places did run out, then future scarcity was powerful, because people knew that fucking hell, I couldn't wait, couldn't hang around. I need to sign up quickly if I want to get on board next time. And I know, like if you look at Steve's recent launch, he sold out within, I think, a couple of hours of opening doors, because people have been made aware of what that scarcity is actually like in reality when working with Steve. Secondly, when it comes to urgency, having a shorter window would work as well. And something we might typically do when working with clients who haven't got such a big audience from which to pull the priority list together, to create additional spikes throughout this launch sequence, we would have an additional urgency-based deadline. So something like the first 20 people to sign up get an additional bonus. So that is one way you can increase the number of sales up front and create what's kind of urgency and scarcity together. Now remember, if you want to have a chat about a kind of one-on-one conversation about what doing this for your business could look like, there's a link below. Click that, you can book a call directly into my diary and we can have a conversation about it. So finally, just showing some of the key stats, because the mistake Steve had made previously when he tried to do his launch is kind of twofold. One, he hadn't done enough communicating, so I think he sent a couple of emails and that was it. He didn't go hard enough on the promo itself, and he thought he'd make more sales from his actual social accounts than he did. And it's a common misconception, because Steve had hundreds of thousands of people follow him on Instagram and only a few thousand people on his email list at the time. So he sensibly assumed that most of his sales would come from social media. However, your customers are in different buying states when they're coming from Instagram versus coming from an email. And to prove that to you, first of all, 73% of the buyers were on the priority list. So 3/4 of the people who ended up signing up to this program had put their name up to be on the priority list. Thought that was interesting. And 18% of the people who came from a social media link who then bought used some sort of pay later option, so Klarna or ClearPay. That was 50% more than the number of people who came from email and used a pay later option. So the people coming to the sales page from the email list or receiving emails who'd signed up to those were better buyers than those who came through from social directly. And to prove this, we've got the stats here from the number of people who viewed the sales page and then went on to buy. So from email, just over 1,200 views of the sales page, which resulted in 149 sales, 12% conversion rate, and just shy of £30,000 in revenue. So 88% of the revenue came from emails. That's this bit here on this pie chart. Whereas coming from social media, where there was a significantly bigger audience, remember, hundreds of thousands on social media versus 1,500 on the email waitlist, far fewer people came through to the page in general. So only 865 people viewed the sales page and only 22 ordered, which is a 2.5% conversion rate, which is what? Nearly 5 times less than from email, and that shows itself in the revenue as well. 12% of the revenue came from people who clicked through from social media as opposed to coming through from the emails. So that is the strategy we used with Steve Keane to sell out his group coaching program, Get Crafted, inside 5 days and generate just over £34,000 in revenue. If you'd like to explore what having us do this for your business could look like in terms of helping you with the launch, whether it's a group coaching program, one-to-one coaching, or any kind of program similar to this, click the link below. You can book a call in and we'll go from there.